All right, guys, welcome back. D Rich Spirits, as promised, my top 2023 best whiskeys of the year. Now, this category falls in anything basically non-American whiskey. We already did that. This will basically be Scotches, Indian whiskeys, Japanese whiskeys, and so on, right? Things of that nature. So it took me a while to get back to it because it was so hard. My number one, number two is still hard. I'm still struggling, and I can change my mind right the last minute just looking at them. I've been going back and forth, and they're from two widely different spectrums, but they are both amazing whiskeys, and I can't wait to get with them and share what I think. So, number 5 coming in as my top 5 best whiskeys of 2023 that I've tasted, period. And I believe in my list wholeheartedly. Number 5, we're going to go with the Craig Alecky Distiller's Art. It's 13, just short of 14 years old, but they got to go with the 13-year-old. The Craig Alecky Distiller's Art. It spent this full maturation phase, the full 13.8 months, whatever, in a sherry butt, right? All of it, no bourbon cast, no anything. It is so amazing. Let me see if we can get the color on it. It's been a minute since I opened it. Look at the color on it. What the sherry cask has done, that orange zest, that orange peel, that marmalade, it is such a beautiful dram. Very fruit and sweet forward, drizzle honey in there. It is an absolute treat. And so this is number 5 coming into the top 5 whiskeys. The countdown is really what's going to be number 1. So number 4, each and every one, like I told you, for 2 weeks I've been struggling and changing this up on my table. I have them all laid out on my table, my cigar room, and I'll just smoke cigars and I'll drink or whatever, but I just keep looking and like, no, this was better than that, or that one was more enjoyable than that, and I just keep switching them up. So finally I had to say, I got to just come with what I got. And like I said, I'm very proud of what I got. What number 4 is exactly what's in this glass. This story is by far the biggest story of everything I have. The story deserves its own show. It is the Glenmorangie Signet. If you're not familiar with the Glenmorangie Signet, it is the only whiskey in the world where the distillery shuts down for a full week just to make the main ingredient, the chocolate barley used in this. It's roasted and re-roasted all the way down to a fine espresso. This is then shared, the juice, in 3 different casks. You have your basic bourbon cask, you have your sherry cask, and then it's going to touch virgin American oak. That's only pretty much American bourbon touches a brand new oak. Everything else is used barrels. What they've done with this bottle, it's amazing, right? It's a beautiful story. Unfortunately, it's only number 4 on the list, but it does have whiskey in here 35 to 40 years old. It is a blend, and it could be as young as 10 years old all the way up to the 35, 40-year-old juice. And no telling how much they put in there. But the premium casks and their most rarest casks go into making this. It's made once a year. As I explained, they shut the distillery down just to make the malt. If you ever get a chance, the Glenmorangie Signet, try it. Very interesting dram. Espresso, chocolate, fruit. So it's weird how it mixes, but it works. Very interesting. Going to number 3. Getting closer. This number 3 was kind of right there with the 1 and 2. I wanted to pull the trigger and make a number 2. It was at one point in time, mid-year, I had thought that was my number 1. But we're going to go to India, Goa, Paul Jean, Mithuna. Now, in 2021, Jim Murray made this his number 3 whiskey of the year for 2021. The best whiskey in the world of all whiskeys. Mine is just non-American. His was all whiskeys. This Paul John Methuna was ranked top 3. It is a beautiful cask. I mean, it doesn't have any finishing to it. Anything. It's only 5 years old. Now, what you have to remember when you're dealing with Indian whiskey and whiskey from like Taiwan and things of that nature, it's almost like dog years in aging. Because of the sweltering heat, it never cools off. It's just constantly sweltering heat. In every distillery, well, storing house, it's never temperature guided. It's always regulated by the temperature in the land. Bourbon goes from hot, cold, and that helps its aging process and turns it into what it is. This one, if you put heat in this type of juice, it ages very, very fast. So I'm very happy with my number 3. The Methuna in the cask. I have a hard time getting it back open, closed, whatever, but it's a very good draft. If you ever get the opportunity, don't hesitate. The Methuna by Paul John. Now I gotta close this thing again, right? Let me see, give me a minute. Work with me. They ain't closed all the way, but that's what I have to do. Because now we reach what everybody's wanting, right? Number 2. Well, you really want number 1. But number 2, right back to India, right back to Goa, right back to the same exact distillery. Paul John is coming out of nowhere, blowing it up. Paul John, I'm telling you, if you're not into Indian whiskey, please give it a try. There's like 3 other great ones, but Paul John is the one I'm the most familiar with, and I am in love with his juice. The Paul John Oloroso Sherry, by far, I don't want to say it because then it's going to, not make sense why it's not number 1. But it's like the most amazing thing I've ever had in my life, especially this year. It spent its full maturation. Now, the Paul John, this is 5 years old, but it's really 7 years old. So 5 years old in the regular cask, just like the Methuna. The Methuna also is a higher ABV. It's like 58% ABV. So it's almost barrel strength. This is 48% ABV. This has spent the extra 2 years in sherry cask. So it's 7 years old, Indian whiskey. If you multiply that in the dog years, I told you, it's really a 21-year-old whiskey. The mouthfeel is incredible. Oil, silky, it is unbelievable. The palate, everything you're going to get. You're going to get the dark chocolates. You're going to get that strawberry, the peaches, the apricots. And it's just going to all lay over your tongue, and the finish will be amazing. The Paul John Oloroso is my number 2 whiskey of the year. Could have easily been number 1. And the price, it's probably the best in price of all of them. It's probably the most affordable in everything here, by far. This one I had to order this online because it's hard to get Paul John here in Ohio. I think I paid $150 with shipping. It's the cheapest of all of them. Now we move to number 1. No, just kidding. My throat was a little parched. Number 1. My number 1 whiskey of the year, 2023, D-Rich Spirits. Mark it, put it down. I put my stamp on it. The best whiskey of the year. The Octomore 14.3. Woo! You want to talk about a big daddy? They don't get any bigger than this. Islay Scotch. We are going to Islay. Last year, my number 1 whiskey of the year was also an Islay. I am an Islay guy. It's kind of hard to pull me from that. It's just, Paul John is trying, but this 14.3. Whoo. But this has to be your jam. It has to be a jam. It was a time where Islay Scotch was just straight Band-Aid juice, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do all the Band-Aid juice. That's what I called it. But then I adjusted to it during COVID. One day in COVID, and we're just in the house for 2-3 years or whatever, and I'm drinking bourbon every day, and I just needed something smoky and meaty, and that led me to Ardbeg. And Ardbeg is my favorite. It is my favorite by far of any Islay Scotches, and I love them all. I just started collecting all of them: Lefroy, Lagavulin, Bunnahabhain, all of them. But this was my first Octomore this year. The 14.3 knocked my salts completely off. I was like, "What is this?" It was just fizzing in my mouth like it was a soda, right? But it was so delicious. The dram just took me all over the place. it had a lot going on. It had a lot going on. And as you can see, I only had 2 different drinks out of this, right? 2 different occasions, 2 different nice pours, and I sip on a pour for like 45 minutes, just enjoying it and trying to dissect it. So on 2 different occasions, I've enjoyed this dram, and I was sold both times. Like, wow, this is the best thing I've tasted this year. And with that being said, there is no runner-ups. There is no special guests like in the other one. I have a bunch that probably could have made the runners-ups. But until next time, guys, subscribe. I appreciate that. Like, comment, let me know what you think. I'm curious to know what your top 5 is. I'm always curious to know if we have anything in common. But until next time, it's your man D Rich. Later.